Yo, good day. Welcome to another episode of the RotoFest Detail Bookie Podcast, where every week we dig in deep with detail business owners, suppliers, vendors, and explore their backgrounds, their stories, what motivates and drives them, and all with the intent of learning something.
Or just completely
Or
screwing
just having
off for an
fun.
hour.
Yeah, or just having fun
I mean,
for
the
an
real
hour.
intent, let's say, the real intent is we'd have to be working if we weren't doing this. So,
Yeah, it's all good. So
today we have Matthew Good. Is it Good? Is that how you pronounce it?
it's good.
Good.
It's all
Good.
good. Excellent.
That's right.
So let's talk to Matt, because I'm sure a lot of people see your stuff online. You've always got something cool in your shop.
Yep. We work on a bunch of classics.
You
Mostly.
do.
Mostly.
You do bigger trucks, classics. So let's tell everybody where you're at in the Kentucky world.
We're in Brooks, Kentucky, literally a couple miles outside of Louisville. Been here all my life. Been in business for 13 years. Been doing it since I was 6 years old.
Wow. All right. So how's that? Because you're not 19.
43, pushing 60.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what? I can appreciate that. So let's talk about how you got into the business. You talk about 6. I imagine you were like at the foot of your dad in a garage.
Yep. My dad's a local. Well, I'd consider him, and I'd say people would agree. But my dad's a local hot rod legend around here. He's been painting cars and building hot rods since he was 13. He's 75 now. So when I grew up, it was my dad worked at Ford full time and he never really fully had a business per se. He just built everybody else's cars. So when I grew up, and still to this day, my father's still my hero. I wanted to be just like him, and I turned out just like him. But I was always into cars, and I've got ADHD, which I didn't figure out till I was older. But the way that my ADHD works is if I like something, I'm hyper focused on it, and you'll never beat me at it. I wanted to learn how to work on cars so bad, so my dad started letting me. And mine was just like it would have been old school with the job. I started out with all the crappy jobs. 6 years old, him and the people he was working for would pay me to clean out their cars, get the Bondo dust and all that stuff out of them. And then I guess about 10 or 11, I started wet sanding and buffing his paint jobs. I didn't get to paint until I was probably 16, 17. But I had to do all the trash jobs like polishing aluminum. I loathe polishing aluminum. I can't stand it. I am phenomenal at it, but I will not do it. Well, I got a Chevelle in here now that I'm pretty much doing a concourse detail to, and I did polish his aluminum wheels. But other than that, I will not do it because I had to polish so much trim, so many wheels, valve covers. I mean, you name it, I've polished it.
Tell us how you really feel about that.
I hate it. It's dirty, nasty. I got a guy here locally, and he gets several jobs from me. I just had to post. I think I posted a picture yesterday of me in here sweating. Why? And I said something about polishing wheels, and my buddy commented. He's like, "Oh, you're polishing aluminum now?" And I said, "Nope."
Yeah,
not doing it.
Yeah. There's certain things like that if you don't like them, what you do is you throw out some completely ridiculous number, and somebody calls them, "Hey, will you polish these wheels?" Absolutely, $10,000. I'll do those.
I don't even do that anymore with aluminum because I mean that's a good thing. I do I get that a lot, but I'm almost shooting. I'd say 90% when I don't want to do something, and like I'm gonna give them some outrageous price. Like, okay, when can you do it? And I'm like.
I was trying to deter you.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I'll take the extra money, but I don't really want to do it.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah,
So,
polishing aluminum is nasty. I spent
Yes.
I had a sentence underneath a
B29.
B29 for 6 days straight with my arms above my head polishing.
I can't even imagine that. I worked at a job for a year polishing and detailing the UPS airplanes here. And I started out, it was a detail shop, and then it was called Air to Ground. Air to Ground. It was a detail shop, so I got hired to be a detailer, and I was there about 2 months. And he's like, "You're really good. You ever thought about detailing airplanes?" And I was like, "Nope, but let's go."
Yeah.
No, out on the runway in the wind. I'm not made for cold. And the runway in the winter, if it's 30 degrees outside, it's 30 below zero. And I was like, nah, I can't do this.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
no. So one of the motivating factors for me wanting to have you on the podcast was last week you posted a video on Facebook and you were highlighting this really nice detailed job that you did, and you made a mistake on the the engine configuration, and man, you got slammed.
Yeah.
And you're like kind of debating, do I take this post down or do I just let it ride? And you're like, hey, I'm actually making money off this thing with Facebook. So
exactly.
Yeah.
let's talk about turning a mistake into gold, man. That's funny.
That with the Chevelle I was just talking about, I was polishing the wheels on. It's one of those my favorite type of clients that just come in, throw $1,000 on the hood and say, call me when it's done, but I want it done right. It was one of those cars. Of course, it's not carbureted. It's a fuel injected car. And of all people of growing up building hot rods and muscle cars, I know this, but it was early in the morning. I think we've been here the last couple of weeks, we've been slammed. And then we got, of course, like I said, I coach football and run a football organization as well. So we just been running and running and running. And I didn't even catch it. I made a video and I was talking about how good this carbureted car starts up, blah, blah, blah. I even said EFI in the video, which electronic fuel injected. And I posted it and I kept on getting notifications. I'm like, man, this post, well, of course, anything I do with that Chevelle, that post get a lot of likes. It's a really nice Chevelle. And I kept on seeing all the likes go up. I'm like, man, this car is really getting up there. I started going reading the comments and I was getting blasted. Like, this idiot doesn't even know it's not carbureted, it's EFI. And I was like, oh my God, of all people, me that grew up in a garage building hot rods. But I started looking at my personal Facebook has been monetized for a couple of years, and I've never really done much with it because I get on Facebook for short periods of time. I'm not on there a whole lot. So here lately I've been like, I want to see if I can make some money. So I've been posting videos, watching my dashboard, see what they're doing. I think now I'm up a little over $300 on that video, and I was like, I was going in to delete it, and I was like, man, I don't like looking like an idiot, especially when I know what I'm talking about. But I was like, man, you know what? I'm gonna leave that and let it roll, because I think then when I checked it, it was like $150, and I was like, whoa, like that post is doing pretty good, and it's still going. I'm like, well, I'll look like an idiot, but I got paid.
Yeah, well, and I think that's funny because there's sometimes where you'll watch a video and somebody will just speak something, and there seems to be a group of people out there that their entire job in their mind is to search through posts and point out mistakes. And I'm like,
yes,
some of the things and one of the things that we've talked about on the podcast before is, so I build hot rods and cars and motorcycles and stuff too. So my shop, I have an area where I call it the wall of shame. And it literally is mistakes that I put up there because it just reminds me that I'm human, and it keeps me grounded. And so things like, I busted the housing on a turbo 350 that I was just in a hurry, and I tightened it down one bolt too fast while I was putting it in, it cost me, I don't know, $1,600 for a new case and to rebuild the transmission. But that's hanging on the wall. And then some other stuff that I got on there. And the thing about mistakes is you can either take them as a ego hit, or you can use them as a learning experience, or like you did, you can actually turn it into money. That's fine. I'm gonna start going out there and
start misspeaking.
Yeah, I'm gonna go out there. There'll be a Mustang out there, and I'm gonna call it a Cougar, and just on purpose, just to screw it up.
There's people out there, their job is just to troll people, and I'm like, it's people that weren't my followers. It was just people commenting on it. I'm like, if it keeps on making me money, I'm gonna let it roll.
So let's talk about, you mentioned that you've been in business 13 years. I imagine that's been quite a journey. God. As you look back, what are kind of the mistakes that helped you get to the point where you are today?
There was a lot of mistakes. A lot of mistakes. mean, still to this day in business, 13 years in, everything that you see in my shop, I've paid for. There's no business loans. There's no family loans. There was no nothing. Actually, I started this business at probably one of the lowest parts of my life. Um, I had a motorcycle wreck back in 2005, which for about 2005 to about 2015, it pretty much wrecked my life. I had a good paying job. Um, the surgery that they did, I basically what I did is I broke my eye socket. I was in a coma for over 24 hours. I slid on gravel and was going towards a guardrail on a crotch rocket, and over that guardrail was probably 150-foot drop into the woods. I
Mm.
kicked off the guardrail and it just destroyed my ankle, like compound fracture, turned my foot backwards and everything. Well, I had the surgery. Surgery was doing good. About 2013, I couldn't hardly walk. Like I was dragging my leg behind me, but I had a good paying job. I'm very, very, very old school. Like you could cut my leg off and I'm going to work the next day. There's no keeping me from work. I'm just like my father. Um, my old lady and my mom talked me into going to see if I could have a surgery to fix my ankle so that I could walk. Um, Everybody I went to didn't want to touch it. I was way too young to do an ankle replacement. And it was bone on bone, no joint in there at all. I finally found one guy. He did fix it. However, it gave me a bone infection. I've
Mhm.
had, and since 2014 is when he fixed it. Um, 2015 is when I finished having surgery. There was 36 surgeries in between there. It was almost
Holy
like two a week
crap.
sometimes. Um, I lost my good paying job. We had just bought a house. So me and Candace are a blended family. She's got two older children that are they're mine. But we also got an 11-year-old and a soon to be 10-year-old as well, 15 months apart. But we had just had Tyler, my 11-year-old, just bought a house. I've done detailing on the side literally my entire life. That's how I built cars growing up was my work paid my bills and detailing cars built my cars. So she's seen me do it for years. And she was working at a bank making $9 an hour. We tried to get food stamps and everything when I got, because my short-term disability was gone, my long-term disability was gone. I was basically, I forgot what they called it, but I was let go. So I had no money coming in at all, uh, having surgeries sometimes twice a week on a knee scooter. And I'd have a surgery, come home, sit down for a couple hours, then I'd get on the knee scooter and go out in the garage and detail cars. And we couldn't get food stamps. We couldn't get no government assistance, nothing. They said we didn't have enough kids and didn't make, or we made too much money. And I'm like, $9 an hour will not even pay my mortgage. So Candace was like, I guess it's time to start your detailing business. That was a side gig. That was never planned. I was
Yeah.
supposed to work at Ford, actually, like my dad. The day I wrecked my motorcycle, I was supposed to start the day after, which looking back on it in retrospective, that motorcycle wreck was probably a blessing. Um, and that was a little bit towards my wilder stages of life. So it calmed me down a lot. But it threw us into a spiral. We started the business with nothing. Literally, luckily I had chemicals. I had a nice steamer, but it wasn't industrial like we got now. After I started business and started getting busy, the whole first year I was on a knee scooter, um, detailing cars. The HOA in our neighborhood, because we lived one house away from a dead end, I'd have the complete dead end full of cars all the way down my driveway and parked in the grass next to my driveway. So the HOA nixed that. Um, then my next step was trying to find a shop, but I was kind of scared to do it because I had zero business experience. I can detail a car better than most people. I knew I had that down. Um, we went through a lot of tough times. We lost houses. We lost that house right there. We ended up losing it for foreclosure. Uh, ended up finding a shop, $1,000 a month for about 3,000 square foot, but only about 1,500 of it was workable area. The rest was offices and stuff. $1,000 a month. It was month to month, so that was good in case I didn't make it. I could walk away and I wouldn't owe the rest of the year or however long my contract was. Um, Stayed in that shop for about 5 years. And then I've been in this shop currently since then for 7 years. Hasn't been an easy road at all. Um, Luckily, I got a good support system behind me because my wife's, well, she works with me now. She's detailing and ceramic coating, paint correction. She can do pretty much everything that I can do. But she kind of came in on accident too. I had a guy working for me for about 7 years, and he just up and left overnight. And that was right when my business started getting really busy. And we do a lot of show car stuff. It's called Mopar Nationals, I think it is, in Bowling Green. And of course, back when I started business, I was doing everything. I was doing collision work, body work, paint, air suspensions, building motors, like everything that I could do, I was doing because if I was going to do the business, I wanted to be like a Midwest, West Coast customs, to where you bring your car and you drop it off and we do everything to it. Only thing I really don't do is interiors. That does not work, especially not when it's one person. There's too many irons in the fire, and I'm really, really, really particular with my work to honor my father more or less, because my dad started a good name in business, and my dad's got probably hundreds of best paint awards. My dad was a hell of a painter and a hell of a car builder, still is. So I'm carrying on his name. It's my name on the building, my name on the business, but it's also his name, and he's what started this. So I got to honor my dad and continue to do good work because that's just how I was raised. But it's been a lot of trials, a lot of hard times, a lot of losses. I'm surprised I still have family, because there was points at times where I was, especially after I started business, I was sending Candace through nursing school. Told her she didn't have to work. We had 3 kids at that point. 4th one was on the way. She was going through nursing school, so I picked up a second job Sunday through Tuesday. I'd come in Sunday, pick up a box truck, drive all the way to Kansas, wake up Monday morning, drive all the way through Kansas into Indiana, delivering like big, huge pieces of glass for like shower enclosures. And then as soon as I get home Tuesday, I'd go straight, drop off the truck and come in my shop and start working. And I was, for one part, I was taking whore baths at the shop because I didn't leave for probably at that Mopar Nationals when Jason quit. I don't think I left my shop for 3 weeks because I had to get those cars done. And that's kind of when Candace came in, because I had 16 Chargers, Challengers that I had to coat before then. And on top of that, I was building 3 sets of custom headlights too, which take a lot of time. And then I think we had 8 regular details that day. And of course, Candace comes up there and I'm flipping out by myself trying to do everything. And she's like, "How can I help?" And I was like, you can't really. Like, I call the customers with the regular details and just tell them, "I'm sorry, we can't get it done. We had somebody quit." And she's like, "No, we ain't doing that." And I was like, "Yeah, we are, because I can't get to them, and that's the least amount of money. I'm gonna do the big money jobs." And she was like, "Oh, I'm gonna start on it." I was like, "Oh, go ahead, fine." I was like, "Really, tell you the truth, I don't really care what they look like, because eventually, which we have for the most part, we don't do much detailing." I was like, eventually, I want to get out of detailing, and I was like, if that ruins my reputation on detailing, so be it, whatever. As long as I'm known for my paint corrections, my coatings, and other stuff that I do. But she came in, she rocked out, she knocked them out. She cleans cars better than she does the house. I'll give her that. She's a master at cleaning cars.
That's because she's tired by the time she gets home.
Oh yeah. I guarantee it, especially being in here.
I think that I'm going to
That's
put that
the
on
quote of the year.
I'm going to put that on me too. I'm way better at cleaning cars than I am at cleaning houses.
Me too.
That's
Me too.
funny. So I want to read this comment from Joel LaPalm. It's a really nice kudos to you. He said, "Matt is the hardest working fella I know. I met him. He was in his first shop and spent many nights sleeping in the shop where they did everything. Love Matt and his family." So that's a nice kudos, because Joel knows a lot of people. He interacts with a lot of detailers, and yeah, it's great. He installed undercar lights kits. Amazing job. Yeah. So
Joe's
Yeah,
always
he
been
does
my
all the
dude.
cool stuff. See, and it's funny because when I started my career out as a mechanic, and then I went into restoring cars, and I worked in a shop for a while. And everybody wants to work on the really cool cars, and that is a hard road. It's hard to do that because sometimes there's not some show going on, or there's not somebody that wants to, put custom headers on something. And so you've got to take in stuff that's not as cool, and that's when it gets hard. But there's still, with the car culture nowadays, there's so many different avenues. I mean, you've got the import cars, and you've got lowriders, and you got hot rods, and you got the donks, and you got the squatted trucks and the lifted trucks, and so there's so many different avenues you can go into right now. That's really good, and I think that is really good. You see what I did there?
yeah, that was good.
I think that's really cool that you're able to do that. Plus, you're in a large enough community. You're close enough to a larger community where you can do that, and that's what we get a lot of questions. People are like, "Well, there's no way that they can only do that one thing," and I'm like, "You can if you're in the right place."
Market. Yeah.
And that's the thing, is you got to know your market, and then you've got the added benefit of having a legacy behind you that did that. So man, there's just so many of these all day long I could do. So you've got a good name behind you. I mean, dude, how do you not
You got a
do
good
that?
wife.
How could you not do that?
Dude, she leaned into you when it was hard. In fact, she was the one that pushed you to build what you have today. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
let's give
Probably
a
the
shout-
worst decision, but also the best decision of my life. Like I said, that motorcycle wreck was probably a blessing in disguise. And that owning a detailing business was never even crossed my mind. It was always a side work.
Yeah. Well, and that's because it is hard work. I mean, there's a lot of people. There's an article. I was talking with Megan, the president of the IDA, this morning, and she did an article for, oh man, I want to say it's big. I can't remember the name of the organization. It's like New York Times or some large news organization, but they were asking about detailing. And the thing about detailing is it does have a lower entry level point than other businesses, but that doesn't mean that it's an easy job. In fact, it's the opposite. You can get into it for pretty cheap. I mean, somebody can literally go from that guy you see at the side of the road when somebody stops at a light that runs out and washes your window and hopes you tip them, to being a detailer by changing your name and your location. And so a lot of people think they can get into it and do that. And so it's a high turnover industry. And
Very high.
the challenge that I see in the industry, and this is something I was telling Jody yesterday, I wanted to point this out on the podcast. So many of us will bash or roll our eyes or say something because somebody is YouTube certified. And yesterday on a professional detailing forum, a person came on and said, should I pay for this training? It's going to be a training here, and literally every other comment was, no, I learned on YouTube. No, I learned on YouTube. No, you don't need to pay for training. And I'm like, this is what's perpetuating this as a bad industry. So the point is, you either are somebody, and I put people in 2 or 3 camps in detailing. You're either a car guy or gal that started out in cars and you learned through going through that process, or you're somebody that's a business person and you've chosen to go that route. Or then the middle one is you're somebody that's doing a quick cash grab.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's
or a desperate cash grab.
desperate
Oh, I can
cash
make a
grab.
quick dollar.
So there's a thing there where, like, you started out detailing, right? So you already had some knowledge. You got a dad that's a painter. I've met several people. There's another big one there too. Several people that started out from the body shop world, which Candace attended many trainings in training center in Kentucky, both business and applications of detailing map. Always knew she was better learning from someone else and having. Absolutely. I wouldn't try to train my wife to do anything.
I didn't really. She just watched me.
Yeah. The key to that is that you either make that decision, whether you're somebody that jumped into it because of a situation that happened in your life like you, or you're somebody that went into it with a conscious decision to be a detailing business. there's a certain crossover point, I call it, where you either decide you're going to go all in or you're out. And I think that's why we see so many people. It's not an easy job. It seems easy. Oh, wash a car, whatever.
I tell people all the time when they come in and I hire people, like now within the last, well, of course, it's just me and Candace now. But I make you sign a no compete. I went through a lawyer. There was something. It only sticks for a year, but it basically just says that you can't detail for money for a year. Because I have the high turnaround where people come in, they work 2 or 3 months, and they think they're me. And I'm like, okay, well, you can detail pretty good, but do you know what goes along with the business aspect of it? Can you afford for 5 or 6 years to just be pulling money out of your butt because there's none coming in? You're going to lose. You're going to be stressed out. You're going to be depressed. There's a lot that goes with owning a business. It's not, rainbows and sunshine all the damn time. You got to be a problem solver. And, everybody that has left me over the years has never made it over a year. And I've had like that Jason kid I was talking about. He was phenomenal. I wouldn't hire him back now, but I didn't have to look at his work. I just, hey, this is your job. This is what you got to do. This is the time frame you got it. Bam, it was done. Didn't have to look at it. Now, when he left me, he went to work for another detail shop, and I had to fix all kinds of stuff that he did. And I'm like, man, what's wrong with him? I know he can do it. Like, I've seen it for 7 years, but once you get out on your own and the stress starts hitting, I guess you can't perform like you got a paycheck every Friday. Once that paycheck relies on the work that you're putting in, stress level gets too high, and I guess you can't come to that level. But now he's not a detailer anymore.
Yeah, and I think that part of that comes with understanding as a business owner where you have to make decisions, right? And I would say it that way on purpose. You're making a decision. A lot of business owners that don't make it, in my mind, instead of making a decision, they cut a corner, right? Mm-hmm. So it's, don't worry about it. Just use whatever. Go. And they also take in any work. And so like I see some of these guys that it looks like the car's been underwater in the mud and they're just doing their standard interior detail. And you're like, oh, hell no. That's way above and beyond. That is like, stop. This is way beyond my typical. This is going to be a, extra charge on top of that. And I think a lot of people burn themselves out in business because, the number one reason people go out of business is because they grow too fast. It's not because they don't grow. It's because they grow too fast. They get into it and they're like, okay, and I got to buy the Lamborghini steamer because I got to look good. And I got to buy 15 polishers and I got to have all the racks to hang them on the walls. And they got a really great looking shop for a year, but all their money's gone. And a lot of times it's like, just go with what you've got. I don't sell polishers, but if you're just starting out and you got no money, there's inexpensive polishers that will work and that will get you to the point where you can afford to buy a good polisher.
Yep. I had first probably 4 years of business. I was using a Harbor Freight polisher. I'm a rotary guy. They didn't have DAs, and you had the Cyclo. But that was expensive back then when I was a kid. Yeah. So I learned how to cut and finish with a rotary. Yep. It's been a long time since I finished with a rotary, but I'm sure I could probably still do it. But I've always been a rotary guy, but I used a Harbor Freight DA for, like I said, probably the first 4 years of business.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. I would have put money on that because body shop, that's all we had. In a body shop, you got a rotary because you're first off, according to paint manufacturers, you're cutting it way too soon. It should sit out there and bake way longer than you're going to let it. But money's money and you got to get it out the door. So you're cutting and you're finishing with a rotary and then it's out the door. And when I was working in the restoration world, man, I thought I was detailing, baby. Cut and go. And then when you get
cut and go, baby.
All I was doing was putting in really, really nice scratches. So that you've got to take it. It's a different level. And I think that's the understanding of when you go from being somebody that's just, you're cut and paint at a body shop and then you move on. And I think a lot of people, to me, that was a negative. When I got into detailing, after we started the RotoFest and Detail Bookie, the CRM side, I thought I was detailing, but it actually hurt me because I was doing way too much. First time I got on a DA, man, I was like, dude, you're trying to push through the paint. You gotta let the tool do the work. You're gonna burn through it.
Yeah, I can remember when the Rupes was the ES first came out, and everybody's like, I can't keep it to spin, and I had problems too. But I mean, now it's I can do that stuff with my eyes closed.
Yeah, and that's I think that's a key to it is you've got to train yourself and you've got to go all in no matter what you're doing. So right now with you and Candace doing this stuff, how many like on average, how many cars per month are you pushing through your shop?
So we do, between me and her, we usually do about 4 to 6 paint corrections and coatings a week. Scattered in there is a couple, like we may do 1 or 2 details a week. It's not something we do a whole lot of. My area is flooded with spring detailers. I was talking to my mentor who owns a multi-million-dollar HVAC business the other day. And our schedule this month's crazy. But we've fluctuated a little bit over the last couple of months, and I'm like, man, I got to keep it constant. Like I go through spurts where I got so much work I can't sleep, and then we got nothing, and then we're busy again, and we're semi-busy, and I was like, I'm just trying to keep it constant. And I don't do advertising. I do zero advertising. $0 go out of my account for advertising. Everything's word of mouth and reputation for me. Now I'm getting ready to look into advertising, but I was asking him how to keep he's like, have you ever thought about doing more detailing? And I'm like, man, to me, in my business, it doesn't make sense. Like, especially with newer vehicles, like I do a lot of the classics. Candace does most of the newer vehicles. There's not a lot of skill involved in a paint correction or coating on that. So to be completely honest with you, there's not a whole lot you're taking out. I mean, yeah, granted, these cars from the factory come in smoked sometimes, but I can train a monkey to do that. Candace is great at it. The only thing that sucks about her, she's short. She got small arms, so when you get a big truck, I got to do the roof, so I got to do the middle of the hoods. Not that big of a deal. But the side of it that I do, like that takes 30-something years of experience, and it's not just from being in the detail shop. Like I've experienced old paint from me spraying it to, I don't know if y'all know, you might know it. You ever heard of Imron?
Oh yeah, for sure. And
very familiar with that.
The different paint and everything. And that's what I don't think people realize, that classics, especially like somebody rolls in a really nice classic, and the first thing you're going to do is I'm taking a paint gauge and I'm seeing how much Bondo's in this thing, because you don't have any idea how many layers of paint, what they painted it with. Is there something underneath that substrate that is, they got an Emeron or a lacquer underneath there that they just skipped and painted over the top of. So there's a lot going on there. New cars, they suck because they got about as much paint as I have hair. And old cars, sometimes what do we do? We did a video. I don't know if you've seen it, but we did the Peel Clear, it's a spray on PPF. They sent me the bundle of that, and I did a kind of a review of it. And I have a quarter panel off of 55 Chevy that it's basically artwork, but it's just a whole quarter panel off 55 Chevy, and it had six mils at the top, and in the middle 93. It had 93 mils. And that's not paint, ladies and gentlemen. That is filler.
A lot of filler.
You're not going to start heating that up, because if you do, you have just destroyed somebody's really, really great mud work.
Here's going to be another one that's going to knock you over. You mentioned the paint gauges. I have 2 of them. I hardly ever use them. I'm old school. I go by touch, feel, smell. I can tell when I'm getting close to burning. I can tell when, I hardly ever use a paint gauge. Like I said, I've got 2 of them. They're great, but they're not really nothing tells you really how much clear is on the car. No. It tells you from the substrate of the metal to the top of the clear. So you're still kind of guessing anyways.
Oh, absolutely. So but it will tell you.
I hardly ever use one.
Yeah. And I think that's the key is there's certain telltale signs right? If I look at somebody's car, I'll go to my wife hates going to car shows with me because I pick out stuff. And you go to a car show and you see this super deep scratch under some shiny clear, and you're like, there's a lot of filler in that. And she's like, how do you know that? And I'm like, all right, well, I'll tell you how I know that is because that scratch is deep enough and there's no primer showing through that they sanded with 80 grit through the Bondo, and then they just started blowing stuff on it, and those grooves fill up with all the material, and that's why they're shiny. So
Yep.
You can pick things out like that. You can reach your hand underneath the fender, and where there used to be a chrome hole, there's a big glob of Bondo. And the old school one used to take a ball peen hammer and hit it. And I mean, there's all kinds of crap. So understanding that it's a different game. Working on a classic is a different game than working on a newer car. And it is hard to do both because you're in two different worlds there. You're thinking about different things. But I think that it's cool that you've got, that Candace is involved in it because she can take on things that, might bring it in and level it off. Whereas you're working on, somebody's 72 Chevelle with fuel injection, as we've found out.
Carbureted, man. Yeah, she's well, like you said, you pick out stuff at the show now. It's funny that for years of being with her, we drive down the road and I see a black car and I'm like, oh my God, look at the swirling scratches in that.
Yeah.
Her and my children do it now.
Oh
My
yeah.
11-year-old walks up to cars, he's like, Dad, this guy really needs you. And I'm like, why? And he'll, well, this, and I'm like, hey, my 11-year-old can paint. Well, both of my kids can paint, correct, and coat vehicles. I've got a video of my 11-year-old doing a Power Wheel correction and coating on it. I think he was about 8 then, and he's using SB3 Trinity. So that's that's the pro coating. But my whole same way as it was in my family. My family's grown up in the shop just like I grew up in my dad's.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's my kids will for things like Father's Day and birthdays and whatnot. They'll give me little homemade gift certificates to say a day in the shop with Dad, and where they're basically
your minion.
My minion.
So I have a question about working with Candace. I mean, that's a different dynamic, and I'm sure that has evolved over time. How do you guys make that dance work?
If it would have been the first 5-6 years of our relationship where it wasn't rough, like it was rough, but it wasn't rough because we didn't love each other and we weren't working on it. It was just we had so much stuff stacking up in life with my surgery, starting a business, losing houses, losing cars. We just didn't really get along that well. And if you would have asked me then if Candace would ever work with me, I'd be like, hell no, I will bury her in under the concrete. But like I said, she came rolling in and just killed it right off the gate. So I was like, maybe this will work. And it does take a different dynamic. I don't think a lot of couples can work together, but we are literally together almost 24 hours a day, every single day. Now, when we close the doors here, if we both run the football organization, the youth football organization together. She's the chairman, I'm the football coordinator and coach. So she's the bigwig at the football stuff, but we do everything together. Our family's always together. My kids are always with us. We work together. Literally, we don't leave each other's side hardly at all now. And if you would have asked me, we'll be 14 years together in August this year. So it's coming up. But if you would have asked me the first 5 or 6 years, I'd be like, nope, ain't no way we can work together. Somehow it evolved to this, and it's great too because she's got skin in the game. If she doesn't deliver, our kids don't eat.
Right.
So when I tell her, hey, just like it was with Jason back in the day, here's your car, here's your time frame, this is what needs to be done, get it done. She'll go do it. I don't have to look at it. She'll take it outside. She knows how to take my videos. She'll take the video. Only thing she doesn't do is I don't know if a lot of people even see it, but especially when I get my reflections, I always go up and I go like this. She doesn't do that. But other than that, she knows how I take my videos. Like she knows how she answers all the phones. I don't hardly ever talk to customers much anymore. She does all the scheduling. She yells at me if I schedule anything. Because you know how women are. I go out there and talk to the client for 30 minutes. I'm like, oh yeah, I got a big money job. Go start scheduling. And she's like, well, I had something in my head I was going to put on that date. And I'm like, I can't read your mind.
Yeah.
So I get yelled at if I schedule stuff. It's turned out fantastic. It's not always like I said, life in general isn't always sunshine and rainbows.
Yeah.
But for the most part, we make it work and
Yeah.
we do good at it. 2023, I think, or 20. Which was the last year's Southern Detailers Conference?
It's 23.
23,
That
yeah.
year, I was nominated for Detail of the Year, Detail Shop of the Year. She was nominated for Female Detailer of the Year.
Yep.
I won Detailer of the Year. She didn't win or Female Detailer of the Year, and we didn't win Shop Detailer of the Year. But we kept it all in Kentucky pretty much. Austin, shout out to Austin Clean Cars. He won Best Detail Shop or Detail Shop of the Year.
Yeah.
So we kept it all in Kentucky, and I think Jerry Grant won Best Mobile Detailer, and he's not even mobile. But he's another local guy too. So
Yeah.
the local
That's
guys killed it at the
Oh,
last.
and that was right there. The last year that was there in Louisville, and it was that was kind of cool because it was local people. I remember that. We might have had something to do with being there.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is I think it's so many people ask the question of how do I do this, and you have to. If I look back at what your story is, somebody can't replicate that, right? I mean, they can't. You've got to be like, okay, you got to go to the little kid that's 6 years old and go, okay, see how your dad owns a body shop? This is what you need to do, right? I mean, you can't do that. So if they want to start a business in detailing, I think they have to first off look at their market. They have to do a market analysis. And that sounds like, that's one of those big business things, but you have to. Where are you at? What is the most likely thing you're going to do? If you're in a farming community, man, I'd be doing industrial coatings all day long. And I'd be charging an arm and a freaking leg. Piece of farm equipment's $250,000 for a combine. Absolutely, it's $5,000 to coat that thing, right? So you got to look at your market and you got to determine where is it you want to be. If you want to be into hot rods, you got to be in a market that does hot rods, or you've got to be so damn good at it that people are going to truck them in. And that doesn't come easy. I think a lot of people, we talk to some younger people that are like, well, how can I do this? And I'm like, well, go to a shop and tell them what you plan on doing. Move to a different location and tell them, I want to work for you for a couple of years, and then I'm going to move back to my location and I'm going to start my own business. Be upfront with the person. Because if I came to you as a young guy and I was like, hey, man, I'm in Idaho. I want to work for you for a couple of years. I'm going to learn the business, and then I'm going to go back to Idaho and start my own business. And if you're willing to do that and up front what's happening, there's nothing wrong with that. But so many people go into it and they're like, I'm going to go work with Matt, and then I'm going to just start my own business right down the street. And I'm like, well, that's not a good route. That's not going to work.
And really, I mean, I work with I've had a hand in most of the detail shops around here as far as, like I said, Austin, I mentored him when he first came up. Of course, I probably didn't have no business mentoring because my business was doing good, but it wasn't great. But I more or less mentored him on how to get through the hard times. Helping him out along the way, technical issues. But if somebody came in, like if you come in and do exactly what I described, where you come in, works 3 months, think you're me, and then you're gonna do a shop, that shit makes me mad. But if somebody, even if it was somebody local that came up and said, hey, Matt, I would love to learn from you. I would love to do this, maybe work with you a couple of years. I can plan around that because you're not going to leave me in the middle of the night like Jason did to try to start your own business. I don't have no problem helping local detailers because when I got into detailing, it was like, I've been out of paint and body for about 10 years, but paint and body was a sealed trade secret. If you knew how to do it, you didn't explain or tell other people your processes. And detailing was like that when I came in. Of course, we're talking back in the days of $100 details where that include however many steps of paint corrections with a rotary, full interior details for car lot junk that somebody died or puked in, or I got the hot rods and the muscle cars now. Us hot rod guys, we're DIYers. When I was a kid, I got the hot rods because of my dad, but once I kind of branched off before even a business, I was begging for hot rods. I wanted to build a business around hot rods and muscle cars. That's my soul. That's what I like.
Yeah.
That's what I grew up building. Hot rodders work on their own stuff. They detail their own stuff. Granted, now the hot rodders are getting older. They can't do as much. So now they come to me. And you know, it's built that reputation of what I do to built my business. Like I said, until this day, I've done probably less than $1,000 in advertising, and that was just me playing around on Facebook, boosting posts. I've done zero advertising.
You know, what's interesting to me is something that you said there about you probably not being qualified to mentor Austin. And it's interesting because as I look at our growth over the 17 years in September, we needed a different mentor at different stages of our growth. And so you may have been 3 or 5 years in and he was starting out, and the advice and direction that you were giving was perfect for him because it was where he was in his growth. And I think a lot of times we struggle with going, look, I'm starting out and I'm comparing Matthew Good's 13 years of experience with my one. Is like, how come I don't have a shop? How come I'm not doing all these custom cars? Instead of stepping back and going, all right, this is going to be a process. The first year, the first 3 year, hell, the first 5 years, you may find yourself in a corner with your curled up in the fetal position, trying to figure out how the hell you're going to make payroll and feed the kids, right?
Yep.
And those first years are really, really challenging as a business owner, but we don't talk about that. We just talk about, oh, dude, I have this vision. I'm going to get all these customers and I'm going to be successful. But success comes at a price. It comes with a lot of dedication. It comes with a lot of sacrifice. It comes with a lot of late nights, a lot of early mornings. And at some point, you break through. And it's like, you don't even really know that you've broke through, but you're like, oh, dude, look where we are today. And I think that we shouldn't discount. It's like a lot of times I get frustrated when I'm going through the Facebook detail groups because somebody will ask a legitimate question.
Yeah.
And instead of just answering the question, it's like, God, what kind of damn detailer are you, man? You shouldn't be in this business. If you know, it's like, dude, he asked a question because he doesn't know. And I think a lot of times we forget that people are growing in their journey, and we can choose to be a launching point for them or an obstacle.
Right.
And I find that when you're a launching point, dude, it just breeds goodwill. It breeds good karma, and it helps you move your business forward.
I mean, it must have obviously helped. Austin's doing pretty good now. He's got, you know, nice shop, nice cars that he works on and everything now. He's doing pretty good. I'm proud of him. But like you said, a lot of people don't talk about the struggle a lot. I talk about mine a lot. Because if there's one thing I can mentor you on is every lesson in my life has been hard. Every wrong turn that you're not supposed to take, I took it because I'm headstrong and ain't nobody gonna tell me what to do. I'm gonna lead my own way. I've always been that way. So maybe not. I'm better in business now than I was, 13 years ago. And it was probably 5 or so ago that I was helping Austin along the way. But if there's a person that's a genius on the roads not to take and the lessons that you don't need to learn, that's me. I can tell you which road not to take. If you come to a fork in the road, don't go left. I went that road. It's not, it's bumpy, it's long, it's hard, it's stressful, it's depressing. Don't go that route. And that's, I don't want people to have to go through, and I tell my kids this all the time, especially with them playing football. Tyler, my 11, Candace and me are both perfectionists. I'm only OCD in a few things. My business is one of them. We're both perfectionists. Tyler is a mixture of both of us, and it is not healthy. And he thinks that everything's got to be perfect all the time. And I keep on telling him, I'm like, man, perfect is not an obtainable goal. That doesn't, you should shoot for it every time, and you're going to hit it sometimes. But perfect is not an attainable goal. on most stuff in life. But as long as you're shooting for it and you're getting close, then you're doing better than most people. You might not think, oh well, man, I didn't get it done in this time frame, or I didn't get this job done. As I tell you what, if I spoke to clients, like I have cars come in here all the time, and I set your expectations. So when you leave your shop and you pick up the car, from that first time that I talk to you, you know exactly what your car is going to look like. You know what scratches are going to come out of your car. You know what are the swirls. Like I'll spend 30 to 45 minutes with you and explain everything. So that, the best customer is an educated customer. When they leave me, they're educated. But I always try to set the expectations and under promise and over deliver. That's always been, I'm old school. Like my business is built like if it would have been in the 50s and 60s. We look out for people. We take care of our clients. We'll jump over backwards for you if we have to. But setting that expectations helped a whole lot. But a lot of the cars that go out, I mean, I'll look at them, I'm like, man, it looks a million times better, but I'm not happy with it. And the client come in like, oh my God, it looks so good. I can't believe you did. And I'm like, I'm just sitting there with my hand on my head like, that looks like shit.
Yeah.
Are you serious right now? But
yeah, but that's, I think what first off, you've given a really, really sound business advice, not just detailing, but in detailing for sure, set the expectations up front. And then, and again, the under promise and over deliver, those are two successes in any business. Right. I don't care what it is. I don't care if you're Amazon or McDonald's, or as Kirk Evans always says, you're the Burger King, man. When somebody comes into his shop, they know they're going to get the whopper of details. Yep. And it doesn't matter if you want it to be, the Ruth Chris steak. They're expecting a Burger King Whopper. So give them what they're expecting and a little bit more, and you're always going to do well. And I don't care what business it is. Seriously, it doesn't matter. Amazon can deliver my package 100 times on time, 100 times on time, 100. And that one time that I expect it, on Wednesday, and it doesn't show up until Friday, I'm pissed because of the expectations, not because of the 2 days. It's never the 2 days. It's always the expectation. There's a couple of detailers I think that do a really, really good job of that I've been in their shops. And that's the key. That's why they're successful. They're going to get it every time, right? You're going to spend 30 minutes with the client. I'm sure they appreciate that. The one day that, I roll in after you've spent 30 minutes every time I've come in and I bring you a new car and you're in a hurry and you just like, hey, thanks, man. See ya. And I'm like, wow, what happened to the 30 minutes? What happened to the, I don't know which scratches are coming out, right? So be consistent. And I think that's also a good lesson for employees. If you have employees, they have to meet the expectation of you and your clients. They don't have to be you, but they have to meet those expectations. We were at a shop here locally, and the expectation is regardless of what detail you do, that center console, that shifter, that and the steering wheel and everything are going to be clean. It takes an extra less than a minute to wipe the stuff and the dust and the things off, regardless of where they're at. And that's a hard one for this guy's employees to understand. Well, they didn't pay for an interior. It doesn't matter. That's the thing. It takes you a couple seconds to take a rag with some chemical on it and wipe that off and make it look clean, because that's where they're going to sit down. And you want them to have that fresh feeling of my car's clean. So exactly. that is, to me, that is like, that's it. You put that above the door, right? And
along with, we open the door.
Yeah, along with mine, it says, don't be a douche. That's the thing. Just don't
yeah.
So we're coming up on wrapping up time. So as you think back over the last 13 years, what advice would you give to other detailers at any stage of their business?
Don't give up. Hard work does eventually pay off. Our jobs suck. I have fun because I love cars.
Right.
When I get a slew of newer cars, it gets kind of boring to me because I like newer cars. Don't get me wrong. They're not as cool as classics. And that's, not everybody feels that way, but I grew up building classics. When times get tough, turn the corner. make a new decision and figure out how to fix it. I've always been old school. I've got that never give up attitude. And I wouldn't have made it as far as I did had, if we go back to the first 5, 6 years of business, if I would have just gave up. Now we're 13 years in. I've traveled all over the United States, detailing cars, private collections, worked for Mecum Auction, doing high-end detailing at Mecum. I've worked for RM Sotheby's. I'm currently going back to Monterey Car Week in August to do that for RM Sotheby's again. So, I mean, your life and your business is going to be whatever you put into it. If you sit back and just let it see what you can do, you're not going to get anything out of it. You've got to put the work in. You've got to build the foundation. That first 5, 6 years was me building the foundation. I didn't realize it then, but me never giving up, me taking a whore baths in the sink, trying to make the money so I could pay for Candace's nursing school that she's not even a nurse. She details cars. And working a second job, that was building the foundation for what is to come. Now we are kind of plateaued right now in business, but that's kind of been purposely because that first 5 or 6 years, I missed a lot of the baby stages with my kids. Never neglect your family. Never, because nobody is going to stay. Your friends are not going to be there once you start a business. I promise you, 99.9% of them are not going to be there. They're on your team when you're building it, and they want you to do good. But once you do good, you're doing better than them, and that's too much. Never neglect your family. I missed out on a lot of the baby stages trying to build this business. Like I said, now we run a youth football program. I don't miss anything. Haven't since my kids have been 2 or 3 years old. I don't miss anything. I don't miss a football game. I don't miss school functions. I don't miss graduations. I don't miss nothing. So that's kind of why my business is kind of plateaued right now. But there is plans going forward. Because eventually I'd like to get. I'm 43. I've been doing this since I was 6. My body. I grew up playing football. In my area, where I grew up at, it's called Valley Station. We're known for fighting. I loved to fight. My body has a lot of mileage on it. So eventually, I'm never going to retire, but I want to do like the Chevelle job. I want to get to where, money's not even discussed. The person drops off the car. Hey, get done when you get done with it. Call me when it's done, because they know the quality of work that I put out. Those jobs are fun to me. I can, with my ADHD again, if I'm in a car too long, I get bored. I've got to go somewhere else and do something else to break the monotony, and then I can go back to the car. That works perfect for like the Chevelle that I'm doing. I want to get to the point to where I'm semi-retired and I'm doing the cool stuff and having other people work here. Those are in the plans. My kids are almost aged out of youth sports. I'm not going into middle school and doing all the coaching there and everything that we do. So once my kids get out of youth sports, we're definitely going to ramp it up, because I've always had a goal and a dream of being semi-retired at 48, especially after watching my dad retired from Ford. He was in the 60s, and then the dumbass went back. And all the reason he retired really was because 3 years ago, his garage burnt down with all of our hot rods in it. So at that point, he was like, screw it, I'm done. I'm retired. So I'm not going to work like that. I like to travel. I like to do stuff with my family. My family likes to travel. That's one of the main reasons we do MTE. You always catch me in the SB3 booth. We do MTE. We do SEMA. Barry sent us to Colorado, get trained at the Rupes facility. He sends us all over the place. If somebody wants to get trained or something, and we got to come to them. I do in shop trainings. Sometimes they come to me. Sometimes I've been a trainer for SB3 for 4 or so years now, and I'm a brand ambassador now.
That's good.
As well. So none of this stuff would have been accomplished. And to me, here goes back to the perfectionism again, as much as, and sitting right next to me, Best of Kentucky 2026, that doesn't mean shit. It really doesn't to me. I'm honored, but at the same time, with my perfectionism, until I get closer to the end goal, I still consider myself as not doing that much. because of the way I am. But none of this would have been possible had I gave up 5 or 6 years in.
Well, that's the thing is it's about tenacity, and you know the old adage of
It's a marathon.
it's not about falling down, it's about getting back up. And I think that is the thing is a lot of people are hit with you know, a lot of adversity and in their own life, whatever it is they're dealing with, but it's how you get back up and how you react afterwards that are going to make it or break it.
Yeah,
And
that's good. Well, Matt, thank you so much for giving us your time. This was a great conversation. Learned some new things about you that I didn't know about your background, which were really cool and inspiring. Appreciate you taking the time. Shout out to your lovely wife and family who helped you build that machine. It's not easy building a business. So Rod and I can attest that great wives make a big difference. So guys, if you don't know Matt, it's Goods Custom Garage. I messed up. I put customer garage. So he's all customer focused.
The website's right, but
the website's right,
custom.
but
Just
it's
ER
a customer garage. And please remember, don't miss an episode, dude. Rod and I have so much fun doing these. This is our favorite part of the week, getting to talk to people about their stories. You know, we were at Sonex last week. We got some other events coming up. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe. And we are always here and looking forward to a great conversation. Happy 4th. Be safe.
Come back with all your fingers and toes. All everything
and
you
maybe a little
hearing. Your hearing.
I'll be giving away a car, so I'll be watching fireworks. I'll be
there
on
you go, man.
the field giving away a car.
That's it.
I'll keep on my fingers this year.
That's right.
That's it.
Right.
Well, thank
guys.
you, brother.
Thanks,
you have a great day, and we will check you same time, same bad channel. See ya.
Appreciate you having me.
Yes, sir.